All right, let's talk a little bit about Audition. I'm going to open up Audition now. In Audition, our workflow is a little bit different than it is in Premiere because the tools act differently. The project panel is up here in the top left corner rather than the bottom left corner. And then all of our editing happens over on the side over here because we don't have a video to display. We can just work with the clips, and then it's all about what we hear, not really what we see. So I'm going to start, let's just do a multi-track session where we are going to cut together the just the voiceover that Lance did. And so I'm going to hit Command I to import Lance's recording, and I'm going to use recording 2 because chances are pretty good the second recording is better than the first, because why do a second recording if the first is great, right? Okay. So I'll open that up, and then this is our waveform editor. So just like when we recorded our voices in the commercial assignment, if I start selecting stuff here, hitting delete, changing the volume, if I hit save, I will have edited the original audio recording and changed it and altered it. So which means I've lost the original audio recording as soon as I start doing stuff in here. Now, when we're actually doing the recording, if there's a bunch of garbage in the recording that we want to get rid of, like maybe the director's giving notes, or there's a whole bunch of blank space at the beginning and end, you can delete that before you save it. But once you start getting into audio mastering, you don't want to edit the original audio file. You want to create a multi-track session which edits the audio just like Premiere is doing, where it's referencing the original files. So I clicked on multi-track, and I need to have, it's just like Premiere, you need to have a multi-track session open in order to do multi-track editing. Just like having a Premiere project open to do the editing, you need to have a multi-track session open. So you would name this just like you would, and I'm going to call this VO edit, and I'm going to save this in the Audition files folder, in our audio folder. So if I hit choose, then this 48 hertz 32-bit float, this is what Premiere likes to run with, so I'm just going to leave that there. All right, now in this template dropdown, you could kind of do some like a film sequence, stereo film sequence around, but that really, if you're going to be doing a whole bunch of audio editing, that's what I would use. But for this simple VO edit, I'm just going to use no template. So if I click OK, then it shows my tracks that I can do my audio editing. Now it's just like in Premiere. You take the audio files and you drag it over into your timeline, and it drops them in there. And this is where we start doing our editing. This yellow line through the middle, that's our volume envelope. So if you want to turn the volume up or down, you can do it here. It's a little different because you just double click on it to add a keyframe. This is your pan, so if you want to pan it left and right, it'll show you your pan. So your blue one is your pan, and your yellow one is your volume. So with your selection tool activated, so if you hit V for your selection tool, you can grab clips and move them around, change the timing of them. You can, yeah, that's pretty much it. You can draw boxes around clips if you start in the negative space. Question?
How do I get rid of the time selection tool selection that I selected?
So V activates your regular selection tool, and if we go over here, R selects the razor tool, and Y is your slip tool, T is your time selection tool.
Okay.
So if you have your time selection tool activated and you want to switch over to your selection tool, hit V on your keyboard and that switches it over.
It's still not going. I can see where all the other tools come into play, but I have this little white bar that's just hanging out there.
Let's see. Oh, okay. So, if you want to create a cycle region, let's say, I've got a, let's see, did you set in and out points? You may have accidentally set in and out points. The way you get rid of those in and out points is you right click up here in this little section and you say clear time selection or G. That's not one I know. Yeah, okay, yeah, so. All right, so the way your selection tool, if I have my selection tool activated, I can select a clip and I can hit delete. I'm going to undo that. I can also use my razor tool to cut this, cut into this audio file. And then I would have to use my selection tool, delete that part, delete that part, delete this part. But one way to make that really easy, I'm going to undo all that stuff, is the time selection tool is pretty nice because if I know I don't want from here to here, I select it with the time select tool and I hit delete and then it's gone. So the time selection tool is pretty nice. Also, if you right click on a clip using the time selection tool, you can drag it around. Well, interesting. It's grabbing the entire... Yeah, so the tools in Audition are a little different. So you just kind of have to get used to them. A really cool thing about Audition that you can't do with Premiere is if I have two clips and I want to change the timing of their cuts together, I can keep them on the same track. I'm going to zoom in here and show you. I can keep them on the same track and drag them over the top of each other, and they don't delete each other. They actually automatically create a crossfade from one to the other. And that applies too if you're trimming the edge instead of just dragging them over each other. If you're trimming the edge of this one over that one, it'll just add a crossfade. So that's how you add your crossfades in Audition. You just overlap the clips and they crossfade. All right. Other little things about navigating, plus and minus, zoom in and zoom out, just like before. If you want to zoom in or zoom out faster than what your plus or minus keys will do, hold down Command when you scroll over with your mouse over the timeline, and it'll zoom in on wherever your mouse is hovering over. Okay. If you want to make your clip height bigger, hold down Alt while you scroll up or down, and that'll make it bigger so you can see bigger waveforms, and you can scroll down to make it really, really small. If you are zoomed in a whole bunch, see how this thing is changing? What's inside this box is what you see down here. Okay, so if you want to quickly just kind of look around for a clip, this is faster than doing your side scrolling. You can just go up here and grab this and move it around. All right, so let's take a look at this. I'm going to go to his last take because I'm pretty sure that's probably the one I use. I don't even remember.
Hi, my name is Lance Oscarson, and I'm a paper artist.
Okay, so let's start cutting him up. I'm going to start by just cutting this clip right here. There's another key command that I like to use in Audition, that is Command K for cut. If my selection tool, if I have this clip selected, wherever my playhead is, if I hit Command K, that'll cut it. So that's been a pretty handy key command for me. So if I select this first clip and delete it, then I'll grab this second clip, move it to the very beginning. Whoops, there's another one, a little straggler. Okay, so I'm going to move that to the beginning. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so I can see these waveforms bigger. Now there's a couple of things going on here. Occasionally he'd make this weird sound with his mouth. He'd be like, and then he'd start talking again, or he'd breathe kind of weird in between things. So I usually like to cut out those kind of weird sounds in between. Like, and you know, breaths aren't necessarily bad unless it's like a, and then he starts talking again. That's, you probably don't want that. But you know, and some voiceover artists, I tell you, they, in order to get into their character, they do this breath, and you have to like eliminate their breaths out. So let me just listen to this for a second.
Hi, my name is Lance Oscarson, and I'm a paper artist. My name is Lance Oscarson, and I'm a paper artist.
Okay, he said that he just gave me two different options of that first clip. So which one do I want to use? There's a question.
Two.
You like the second one better?
I do.
Okay, let's use the second one. All right. So let's just go here. Hit Command K, cut that first one, delete it, move this back to the beginning. Let's start with that first one.
My name is Lance Oscarson, and I'm a paper artist. Hi, I'm Lance Oscarson, and I'm a paper artist.
Okay, so there's a third version. Let's stick with the second one. Okay, I'm going to use my time selection tool and just grab this whole bit right here and hit delete. Gone. Selection tool, back V, and it's now one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to just do a little crossover on these two. So check this out. I'm just going to cross these over because he may be doing something with his mouth here, doing a little breath here, that if it's a straight cut, it'll sound weird. Now I don't have headphones on, so I can't really hear all the nuances that are going on. I usually do this sort of thing with headphones on so I can hear lip smacks and all that other stuff. So just to be safe, I'm going to overlap these a little bit. Now I want to play it back and see how the timing from one line into the next line is. Make sure it kind of has a pace that I like.
My name is Lance Oscarson, and I'm a paper artist. So I've messed around with a lot of art mediums in my life. Everything from sketch.
One thing I can tell you, this is more picky than you need to be probably, but if I was a really, really picky person, can you hear this? Hi, my name is Lance Oscarson, and I'm a paper artist. He's got like this little tongue smack in there. Well, let me show you what to do with that. I don't want to do a hard cut because there's background noise. What I would do is add attenuation to this by adding a keyframe to the volume in 4 places. The inside places would straddle that little lip smack, and the outside places would be where I want the volume to start changing from. Then I can, oh man, well then I can grab these little marks, drag them down, and significantly decrease the volume of that almost to where it's inaudible. Now you're not going to hear this, but it's gone now.
My name is Lance Oscarson, and I'm a paper artist.
Okay, so there's no more thing in there. That's really picky stuff, okay? You don't have to comb through the entire thing like that. But here's another little tip for you. If I expand this, do you see how there's some little squigglies here? That's some background noise. That might actually be some breath. I want to crossfade that out too. Now, I don't want to be messing around with these envelopes all day long because it changes the volume a lot. One thing I can do up here is see this little square? If I hover my mouse over that, it says fade in. If I grab this to the side, it drags a fade in. Right now, it's going up really fast and then leveling out. Let me zoom in on this some more so you can see what's going on here. But when I drag this over, it's got a curve that goes up really fast and then levels out. If I start dragging my mouse down, it'll do one that starts coming in slow and then increases really fast at the end. So that's what the volume is doing. It's either going up fast or it's going in slow. Which one is best? I don't know. So there's straight line. I usually,
My name is Lance.
it depends. I usually like to do a semi-logarithmic fade in. So then, you know, from here on out, if I'm going to be adding any cuts where I just completely get rid of a breath, like right here,
One day is right.
you know, there's a little bit extra. All right, just so you know, when you add the music, all this little stuff in between him talking is gonna be pretty much covered up by the sound of the music. Okay, so I'm showing you this stuff so that you know it. All right, let me just.
Medium to my life.
All right, let's add an effect to this. I could keep combing through this and be a really, really picky audio editor, but honestly, I didn't even get into it that crazy when I was doing this for him. Don't tell him that. If I go over to the effects rack here in this panel, then this is track 1. Now what I can do is I can start adding effects to this effects rack. I can add my compressors, I can add my voice enhancers, I can add like a noise gate if I want to get rid of any background noise, or try to anyway. I can add reverb to make it sound like he's in a chamber or in a big room. I can do all that kind of stuff right here without affecting the original file. So I'm going to click on this arrow to the side of this first thing, and I'm going to go to amplitude and compression and go to multiband compressor. I usually really like multiband compressor. And here I can add presets, and you can go to things like a de-esser, classical master, heavy guitar. We've got this one that's a raised vocals. That might be a good one to start with. What that one does is it adds more compression to the mids, which is where the voice occurs. And then I can add some gain to this afterwards. So if I hit play, hit spacebar,
Everything from sketching to
that'll
painting.
show me how loud it is. And like I said before, you want your voice to be bouncing, hovering around -6. That's usually a pretty good volume. You can write it all the way up to 0, but at -6 it actually allows me some room to put the music in without putting the peaks way up there. So let me just hit play, add some gain to this until I'm writing -6.
In all of its forms, including finger painting, from leathercraft to pewter. One day, as I was rifling through a dumpster at work, I do that from time to time. I picked up a couple of pieces of used cardboard and
Okay, so that's a lot louder than it was before, right? Sounds better. And just to be safe, if I wanted to, I could go in and add a limiter so that no matter what level I put my compressor at, if it peaks, it'll just ensure that it never goes over like 0 or -6. If I want -6 to be my volume, I could do that. And this is where you say maximum amplitude. Let's say I want that to be a -4. I don't want to boost it, so that ought to work pretty good. So that'll just make sure I'm always going to be safe. Another thing you can do is if I decide I don't like this multiband compressor, but I don't want to get rid of it necessarily, I can just turn it off by hitting the power button over here in the effects rack and turn it off. Okay. A couple other things we've got track volume. So let's say I'm doing special effects. Whoops. Let's say I'm doing some special effects and I don't want the special effects to be too loud. And all the tracks that I've got doing special effects, I just want to kind of turn down. I don't want to get into buses and master tracks and buses and different things, because like what a bus is it says every track that's a sound effects track, I want you to play out of here, and then you adjust the volume of the bus for all the sound effects. And then you add another bus for vocals, and you add another bus for music. But we're going to be doing that editing in Premiere. Okay, so we'll just stick with some audio mastering for now. And then as I highlight on the different tracks, I can apply different effects to the track. So that's the difference between Premiere. With Premiere, you have to add effects to the individual clips, but Audition saves a lot of time because I can do tons of editing on his voice and then just apply one effect to the track, and then it's done to all the voice for the entire voiceover session. All right, now let's just pretend I edited all this together how I like it. Now I want to get this out of Audition and into Premiere. Well, I have to export this as an audio file that I can import into Premiere. So if I go to File, go to Export, Multi-Track Mixdown, Entire Session. That'll take everything in my session and it'll mix it all down into one audio file that I bring into Premiere. Here's your Save As dialog box. I'm going to go VO Edit Mixdown. I'm going to save it in my audio folder. I'm going to put it in my voiceover folder. And I know that it's the one I want because it's the mixdown one. So I'll click Save, and then click OK. Now, if I Command Tab back over to Premiere, I can import that audio file and mixdown. Click Import, and now I've got a VO file that's already mastered. I don't have to do any mastering to it in Premiere. All I got to do is maybe add some space in between some lines, maybe cut some space out. But yeah, now I can take this audio file and look for video that goes along with the audio that he's talking about. Now I can start editing my video. Okay. A couple of the things that motivated me with the video was there are some sounds in the music that I kind of used for crossfades. I didn't want there to be any real sense of time in this video, so I used transitions. I used a crossfade on just about every cut. I added, just because I didn't want time to be a thing. You guys can do hard cuts. You could try not to do star wipes. I don't think they're appropriate for this video, but it's not Star Wars. But yeah, just kind of play with it and let the music motivate you, let his voice motivate you on when to do cuts, how to do the cuts, and we'll get a little bit more into audio and graphics and stuff another time. So anyway, there's a little introduction to Audition. We'll get into doing sound effects for that opening animation another time too.